Hey guys, if you love QF's content on our free Sundays and Thursday sessions, then please visit our Patreon page in the description and sub to the Black Kluge tier or higher for full access to not only our bonus weekly Tuesday night shows and the alternate Sunday shows you've been missing, but also to the exclusive episodes not available to the lower tiers. It's roughly the price of one coffee a month, and nobody at Starbucks will make you laugh like we do for that kind of scratch. In addition, when you sub to the Black Kluge tier, you'll get 2 weeks advance access to each Thursday session on Patreon before it makes it to YouTube.
You know, nowadays, because there are podcasts and everybody's podcasting and on the radio, everybody now thinks they know how to do radio, they know how to do talk, they know how to do... But you've never gone on a radio station and had to get ratings. It's nonsense what you're doing, sitting in your house with your podcast. Don't listen to the noise of the internet. If I listen to the morons who sit and comment on my show, they don't know what's in my brain. They haven't had a career for over 40 years. They don't have a clue. They're sitting at home living with their parents in a basement somewhere writing about me. Use your fucking head.
I mean, I guess it's good for people who just want to be on the radio, but there were a lot of really bad broadcasters who got weeded out by the system. Now they don't get weeded out anymore.
Oh, no.
If they've got 10 listeners, they're happy with it, and they do these shows, and they get their friends to come on.
I've been doing this a long time. I'm somewhat jaded, I guess. You know,
Jaded in what sense?
In the sense that I'm no longer captivated by the microphone now that everyone has one in their basement. So, you know, the idea of, you know, everybody having access to my job is a little annoying and doesn't exactly get me. I wasn't excited about the job beforehand, and now I'm really not excited. The medium was supposed to be just for a select few people who get on radio stations. What's happened is now everybody has access, and I don't like it. I mean, it's just annoying. Used to be special being on the radio. Now I'm just a douche. I literally go to parties, and I'll meet some woman there. She go, "What do you do?" I go, "I'm on the radio." There she goes, "Oh, I have a radio show." It's so fucking annoying, I can't even tell you. Those guys, you know, which gets me crazy because I spent that entire career in radio for nothing. I should have just been broadcasting out of my house all this time. You see, Haktua got a podcast.
I can't imagine what that's going to be about.
I got a tape I can play of where she's entering her studio, and it's going to annoy the fuck out of you because it took us 40 years to get a great studio, and Haktua appears to have a better studio than we do. You know, and then I'm like, "Oh yeah, you have a radio show?" I just interviewed the Vice President, Kamala Harris, and they're like, "Oh yeah, I did too. I did it in my bedroom."
Yeah, I did
oh, really?
too.
Okay.
Call Me Daddy is my show. Right.
Yeah. I just did it on Call Me Daddy. What is that? Everywhere I went, they were like, "Heard you on, what was that show I did this summer?" With the three guys.
Smartless?
Smartless.
Yeah.
Go, "Heard you on Smartless." I go, "Smartless?"
Welcome, ladies and gents, to QF, a podcast about Howard Stern. I'm your host, Phil Moore, a.k.a. Jim Fix. And with me for part 2 of Jerry's What Kids is Wayne. How are you, brother?
Good to be back for part 2. All ready for it.
Guys, this is where you get the twist, and we're going to be very proud of this episode. I'm sure we're going to do a fine job with it. But I did once I was looking around online to see if that there was some type of book on Jerry Lewis, and sure enough, a guy who ended up intermittently being in his life as a manager, especially later in life, and his uncle was originally his manager back in the day. This guy Rick Sapphire, he wrote a book specifically about Susan Lewis and Dean and Jerry and what he knew about it. And he pulls no punches and calls Jerry outright. He calls him a bullshit storyteller, that he essentially lied constantly about his experiences in the Concord, in the Browns, in the Catskills resorts, his recollections with, having done things or claimed to have done things. One of my favorite quotes was about, he claimed he made something like $10,000 in a single month working at some joint in the Catskills Mountains. And this guy Rick talked to someone who was actually there and saying, "Look, I know how much money we all made. The only way he made that money if he was given sexual favors." So it was just hyperbole. Yeah.
One of the things I thought was interesting in that book was it said that at the Copa, like upstairs, there were like bedrooms that the stars could relax in.
Yeah.
And he was like, he'd tell his band, keep it down because
the mob's sleeping
people
upstairs.
up there. Yeah. But in the meantime, he was using it as a bachelor pad or whatever, as
a fuck pad.
like his Letterman pad to bang the waitresses or whatever.
Well, he got married pretty early, and they started having kids all over the place. And at one point, they on his TV show, like the when they had that, I don't know, it was like his version of the Tonight Show we mentioned in part 1, he was telling the audience, think pink. We're trying to have a sixth child. We want a daughter desperately. Mm-hmm. We have 5 boys, and ultimately it's like, so is it a disappointment if number 6 becomes a boy? And sure enough, it was. And they said it's very uncomfortable. I don't know if it's on YouTube, but we're not gonna play it. But at that same time, he had already fucked around with Susan Lewis's mother, who was also cheating on her husband. We found out from this book, right? And so he did have a daughter that he wasn't really able to admit to discuss. So it was a little hypocritical. And Patty, probably his wife at the time, probably knew about this kid.
Yeah, and so in a way he got what he wanted, but he couldn't say that he got it.
Right. So we're gonna read some parts of the book, but we're gonna go through the rest of this video first, because the way it's painted, he looks like a total shithead, a total monster. But in actual fact, there's more to it that Rick Sapphire, who wrote this book about Jerry, I'll give you the link in the description, that he points like basically there are no innocents here, and Susan's no innocent either, based on the way she handled certain things about her life. So let's start it off.
Oh, that's very nice. Admitted?
Oh, he was wonderful.
Wow.
I had the perfect father for one day, one afternoon, I should say.
Better than what Gary had.
Right. Oh, I'm sure they were good times.
There were good times.
I just can't remember them right now. So anyway, so there you had a great afternoon with your dad.
Yeah.
And he embraced you as his daughter. And then...
Did he make any allusions to, well, you have to come see me, or here's my information?
Yes. When I left, he said, call me tomorrow, and I want to meet your husband, and I want to meet your older son, Olivier. And I thought everything was great. I was, feeling wonderful for the first time in all those years.
Did you call him Jerry, or did you call him Dad?
Dad.
Dad. Wow.
I didn't hesitate.
Right.
That's how I felt. It just felt that way.
You got to tell the rest.
Yeah. What happened next?
Yeah, what happened?
Yeah, I have short-term memory loss, so you have to put me back on track sometime.
Yeah, like when you went to see him the second day.
Oh no,
You called him and.
Yeah, well, I called him, and his manager, Joe at the time, Joe Stabile, answered, and he said, talk about a shocker. He said, well, I'm sorry, Mr. Lewis, you won't be able to reach him anymore. And I said, why? Did he change numbers? He said, no, as in, don't call anymore.
Wow.
Oh, wow.
That's
and I said, I didn't.
It's okay, babe. It's okay.
It's okay.
I don't.
Okay, there's a lot that goes into this, guys. It's so much more that if it wasn't for this book, I was actually just kind of shocked. And so you immediately think, oh, what a dick, whatever, the whole thing. Let me just go into my notes first. One sec. So the book is called The Real Jerry Lewis Story, and it's called a memoir by Rick Sapphire. So it says, when Susan was 2 years old, her mother married Hy Uchitel, a wealthy, well-connected businessman, and Lynn felt the mother, which you mentioned earlier in part one, entered New York society, achieving financial security for the first time. High, who reportedly could not have children, welcomed Lynn and her children into his family. So this was her. This is the guy that her mother married after her actual. Her birth. Okay, the guy that her mother was with when she fucked Jerry, she divorced him. And it's Milton Kleinman was his name. So it says, after Lynn's marriage to High, Jerry maintained a distance from his daughter. Lynn could now afford a nanny to assist with raising her children. As High's wife, Lynn achieved popularity and established herself as a promoter for the Uchitel's highly successful, high-profile enterprises. According to Susan, High was so fond of her that he offered to adopt her. However, her father, quote-unquote, Milton Kleinman, would not give his consent. To circumvent Milton's refusal, Lynn called her daughter Susan Uchitel, or Uchitel. Occasionally, Lynn would arrange for Jerry to see his daughter, even though Susan did not know why. How frustrating it must have been for Jerry Lewis to be the biological father of a little girl he could not call his own. Now, here's the kicker. Sorry, one sec, Wayne. It says numerous news articles and reports indicated that High and his brother had ties to the underworld. It says, therefore, he made it losing their family to Nazis as Holocaust survivors made them close. Him and his brother, High and Morris, they're the two of them. Therefore, he made it clear to Jerry that in no uncertain terms, stay away from the little girl and her mother. Pursuing a relationship with either of them could be detrimental to Jerry's career as well as his health and to his knees. Due to the Uchitel brothers' connections, Jerry Lewis considered this a serious threat, which haunted him throughout his life.
Okay, so there was another thing, too, that the mother, who played the game that Susan was, that was her birth father, which she wasn't. She also, the reason she faked that, which, was a crime, so she could get his war benefits.
Yes.
So that was another thing. So now she was double dipping. He's paying for Susan, and then she gets remarried. That's why she could pay for the nanny for her.
Well, yes, and this High, you could tell, was loaded. That's the thing. Right. So she grew up very, very well off, like Susan. She was not started. You get the sense that her mother was a single mother, and she got married, and well, not that she was a single mother, but she had difficulties. Now, the truth is, the biggest problem is that Susan had some serious psychological problems as a result of finding out about Jerry. That I don't think she recovered from that.
I think it was a bunch of things, just divorces and everything she was going through, and going to live in France, and just a lot of things collected. Yeah,
it says learning that her mother was unfaithful to her father was quite a shock, but learning that her biological father was a world-renowned superstar was traumatic. According to Francois, which was the guy that Susan hooked up with, that provided her with children, and he was a Navy fella, and he married her properly, and got her pregnant twice. That's the one where she mentioned she had two kids. One of them she named Jerry. Susan began acting troubled after Lynn revealed the truth about Susan's real father. In response to this, her family encouraged Susan to have another child, and she named her second son Jerry after her favorite son. Let me see if I got this. Jerry Lewis was afraid of people and trusted almost no one. Without warning, he could strike out at someone who never harmed him. He always traveled surrounded by a group of perceived allies. At one time, Jerry Lewis hired a detective whose job, among other things, included checking the backgrounds of Jerry's female escorts. The retired police officer John Loiacano, affectionately known as John the Cop, remarked to me about Jerry Lewis: when you fuck so many people, you get paranoid. Oh, man. So go ahead.
So another thing, like after, where she just ended her story here, and, Jerry said, that he didn't want to see her the next time. There was, in the book, it also said that he hired a bodyguard at that point from there on. Mm-hmm. So, maybe he was threatened to stay away from the brothers.
I guess that's what it was, but I guess that's what. the other,
inferred.
I think there is also a good chunk of it that at the time, especially, and she makes mention of it in the first part. He wouldn't have wanted that public scandal would have ruined him if he had an illegitimate kid, if it had come out in 1950 something or whatever,
Right.
because he had a squeaky clean image.
Yeah, especially in those days, that was a big deal.
Yeah,
That's when people would stay together and take a beating.
We'll add this, guys. 3 years ago on eBay, someone put up for auction nude pictures of Dean Martin and Jerry Lewis in a sauna, and I'm telling you, they look like two fags. They just look, but they're professionally done. I told Wayne these are not safe for work. I sent the link. What happened when you open up the link?
I wasn't expecting that. And when you said not safe for work, it's not safe for heterosexual men to see that.
Right.
But you'll never think of those two the same way again.
Because there's a story. There's a story in the book about, as a prank, Dean and Jerry went naked in some party, and Dean led Jerry around by his dick, like holding his dick as a leash kind of thing, and this Rick Sapphire, he said, I didn't believe it until these photos surfaced, and I didn't know about the photos until the eBay thing, but he corroborated they're absolutely legit, they're not photoshopped, and I'm not going to provide you guys with a link, although I should. Maybe I will in the comments. Ask me for them, and I'll send them to you privately.
I wonder if Sinatra knew this kind of faggotry was going on. I can't imagine him.
I don't know.
Can't imagine him thinking this was even funny.
Now they all did the whole steam room thing in Vegas, and I think it was kind of fruity. But that's one thing. But these pictures, you see them. It's just I don't know. There's something a little too. And I think it's the basis where there's somebody that wrote a book about a decade ago, implicating that the reason why Jerry and Dean broke up was that Jerry was a closet fag, and that he wanted to hook up with Dean, and Dean was like, I don't want anything to do with this. But I think it really was just hijinks. But I don't know what kind of hijinks where you would actually grab your friend's dick for a gag.
That's like when I was just in Taiwan, the hotel we stayed at. My girlfriend's like, oh, they have a hot tub at the hotel. We can, use that, because we usually do that, if we go to the pool. And then so when we got there, she started reading, and she's like, oh, no, because we saw a guy in the hall wearing a bathrobe walking down the hall. And so he must be going to the, to the hot tub thing. And because they had robes in the in the hotel room and stuff. She's like, oh, it's like men in one and women in the other, and they go nude. I'm like, oh, won't be having any of that.
Yeah.
And I was like, no, that's no thanks. I
Anyway,
know it's culturally they do that over there, but that's not my scene.
Well, it says in the part of the book here, Jerry Lewis was appearing nearby at Walden Books in the Omni Shopping Center in Miami, where he spent 30 minutes signing copies of Jerry Lewis in person, written by him with Herb Gluck. In this autobiography from 1982, by the way, guys, it is interesting to note that Jerry Lewis effectively eradicated my uncle, Ernest D. Glucksman, from his book and his life, although Uncle Ernie had been Jerry's manager, executive producer, friend, and mentor for 14 years, guiding Jerry Lewis to fame and fortune. So he completely fucked Rick's uncle.
Wow.
Yeah.
He pulled in 1984, made him an unperson.
Yes, and Howard would be the same way about, in his movie about, completely eradicating any traces of his sister.
Does anybody listening to the show now, anybody out there know if he's even talked about Gorillo putting out a book? Or is he an unperson too?
I can tell you from the clips we have, no, and Raven would have clipped that if he had. There's no way. Grillo's a non-person now, even though he dedicated private parts to him.
That's too bad, because I see him on TikTok and I've interacted with him. Haven't read his book, but it's sad.
Well, this next part of the book, it takes place before this video had been made, by the way, guys. It said, according to Susan, on and off after her divorce, she and her male companion stayed with friends or relatives, survived on the streets, rented rooms at boarding houses, and lived in air-conditioned storage units. It was a heartfelt, hard luck story. She said neither she nor her friend could hold a job due to their physical disabilities. Because this seemingly witty, bright woman had such an unorthodox lifestyle, I assumed she was simply down on her luck, which is what you'd believe watching this, that she was homeless, Not that she was homeless, but that she was abandoned by Jerry. But he had this. The Rick Sapphire basically took her on as he felt bad for her, and basically said, like, what if we it would not. He said he was willing to explore her potential. I could not go to Jerry Lewis and say, Jerry, I'm sure you remember Susan, your long lost homeless daughter who is currently out of work, out of luck, out of money, and living on the streets of Florida. That would not play well in Las Vegas. I initially thought I could find her work on the lecture circuit, telling her rags to riches to rags to riches to rags to riches story. Of course, to make her story ring true, she would need to pull herself together and put sleeping in her car behind her. And the residual effect that Susan would get the recognition she wanted from Jerry Lewis. So he did whatever he could. And that's when he arranged to have these videos, these interviews. She did a press junket with about 15 more DJs, including Cousin Brucey.
Oh.
Yeah. So basically, she has a video channel. It's only 5 videos. It's a 5-parter thing. It's too low in the audio, so I'm not going to play them. But he got the DNA test from Gary Lewis. Gary Lewis had no problems with this, and he said, I was impressed with her charmed life growing up. Susan attended the finest private French school in Manhattan, met countless luminaries, dined in the most elegant restaurants, and hobnobbed with the city's social elites. So she threw away a pretty well-off lifestyle to just live as this homeless person, a seemingly homeless person on the streets of Philly, where she may still live. I seem to recall a report where she passed away more recently, but I can't find
me
it.
too.
I can't find any evidence of it.
If she's homeless in Philly, that's pretty rough.
Yeah. So it says the more I knew about Jerry's daughter, Susan, the more impressed I was with her abilities rather than her disabilities, in which she claimed she resulted from an accident. From my vantage point, I saw no disabilities precluding her from earning a living or living a more traditional lifestyle. Her only obvious disability was her trouble walking and occasional use of a cane. And it says here on a Sunday at 5:30 a.m., my business phone rang. It was Susan calling, terrified. While sleeping in her car in a bank parking lot where she thought she would be safe, she was confronted by a Florida police officer who was about to arrest her and her companion on vagrancy charges. So he was able to find housing for her in Philly. When his family and friends heard about it, they donated clothing, furniture, services, and money. Susan sold her old car in Florida and purchased train tickets, one for herself and one for her friend. Basically, it says here, despite being disabled himself, Ned Crane, the guy that Rick's friend who put her up, he welcomed Susan and her friend to his house. The only obligation the newcomers had was to contribute a small preset fee towards the household each month. Susan and Francois, her fella, her husband at the time, had kept in touch after she left her husband and sons and returned to the United States. So she ditched her husband and her kids to live in the United States with this homeless guy.
Yeah, I wonder what the situation was over there with the French guy. Is this mental illness or
it's mental illness? No, this doesn't indicate anything of that. She certainly didn't mention it. It says I later learned from Francois that even after their divorce, she would ask him for money and he would send it to her. Okay. Yeah.
And then the kids stayed with him, obviously, so they must feel safe with him.
I guess so, and I'd say it's some type of psychosis that she has on the basis of this. So it said, because Susan was fluent in French, she could have been a translator. Eager to explore an opportunity in this field, she agreed to go to an interview, but decided at the last minute not to go. She could have been a hostess with her food service background, but she did not want to do that. Her sights were set on speaking engagements and being acknowledged as Jerry's kid. In the meantime, she wanted her biography written and asked if I would do it. I looked forward to working with her, aware that any degree of success would take time, development, and commitment, and there were no guarantees. So this is where he started arranging junkets for hers. The Globe magazine article, Inside Edition. There was originally when Inside Edition released a report about her and reached out to Jerry on verification. the person that was representing him said, Mr. Lewis has no comment. Since Jerry was never shy about voicing his favorable or unfavorable opinions, I interpreted Jerry's silence as giving his approval. And that's most likely what it was. He was still afraid of that original threat.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it says, so it says over here, like she went to one of his speaking engagements, and then there was a problem. Peter Bogdanovich was there. They didn't want to. It was still very much a thing where he still lived in fear of that original threat, because Jerry was paranoid, but he also screwed over a lot of people, so he had right to be a little paranoid about things.
But even if you take Jerry out of the picture, there's plenty of people that were a support system for her.
Yes.
No, I mean, granted, Jerry could have done more, but even throwing money on the problem, wouldn't have helped.
No. And so here, for example, it says it wasn't long before Susan became disheartened, as the grandeur she and her friend envisioned for her was turning into work. Although the book she had asked me to write as payment for all I was doing for her was underway, she lost interest in it. She and her companion thought her story was so valuable that they hustled it to multiple writers. Several of them contacted me asking about her credibility because they had spent time with Susan working on her book, and then she disappeared. So she was a complete flake.
Yeah.
Yeah, and
the biography that she was trying to put out, she couldn't even follow through with that.
Right, that's it. It says at some point it says Susan and her companion had lived in my brother-in-law's house in Philly for well over a year, but unbeknownst to me, they had stopped contributing to the household after the first few months. Ned, a trusting soul, did not report it, permitting them to stay with him because he did not have the heart to ask them to leave. In previous years, Susan and her companion had resided with friends and relatives and lived in rooming houses, storage units, and her car. The end was always the same. Nevertheless, when Ned told me thought Ned not paid him, I presumed Susan did not have the funds. So I asked her if she would be my paid assistant for a function where I was providing entertainment. I suggested she could use her remuneration to cover her back rent. She refused my offer, saying she was too busy. After I told her that her free ride was over, she remarked to Ned, I knew it would eventually come to this. So there was something psychologically wrong with her where she couldn't actually pay money to people she preferred to remain a bag lady than earn a living. And she'll take money from people, but she won't actually work when she could work.
Yeah, they were talking about this situation, like not her, but on Bennington, about the homeless shelters and how it's like, people would rather stay out on the street. I know there's like a lot of like crime and stuff in the, people stealing from each other and stuff in those shelters. Mm-hmm. But there's a mental illness aspect of it too, that even if it's, 20 below outside, they still would rather take the risk of living outside. It's just because they don't think straight, Mm-hmm. And that sounds like her situation too.
Yep.
So even if you build enough shelters, there's still a factor of people that just don't want to be in the shelters.
So it says once she moved out of the house, he found out they were making monthly payments to rent a private storage unit where they kept an unknown quantity of personal effects. They would return. They would when they were not at Ned's house, they were at the storage facility. It says when Susan and her companion vacated Ned's house, the items our family and friends donated to her had yet to be worn, sold, or removed from the bags. So she took the stuff and never did anything with it. One dresser drawer was filled with hundreds of used soda bottle caps.
Weird.
Yeah, exactly. He said, and this is the last part of the chapter, my expertise has always been in the field of entertainment rather than psychology. What I learned from this experience was how little I understood about the plight of the homeless. From the time she was a child, Susan was blessed with golden opportunities with family and friends who were willing and eager to help her make something of her life. I was merely one of those people. It is doubtful that Jerry Lewis was responsible for her lifestyle, nor could he have remedied it. In the end, I came to the disturbing realization that when Susan left Ned's house to head for the streets of Philadelphia, she was actually headed home being, just being a bag lady.
Is it legal to live in storage units? Can you do that?
I don't know, actually, to be honest with you. And so when we play that Inside Edition clip, it'll show the storage unit, and then we get a chance to look at it.
Oh, yeah, because I know, the storage unit that I have is in a building, and you have to drive your car in there, and there's cameras everywhere. And you wouldn't want to stay in there anyways, because they play music. The music turns on as soon as you walk like when you walk down the aisles, it's like Get Smart. The lights go on and they start playing music. Play good music in there too. But I don't know how you could sleep in there unless you like sleeping with, classic
Headphones.
rock on.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or earplugs in. Yeah, maybe. Who knows?
Yeah.
I probably said, why? And he said, that's just the way it is. And so...
School, you have me.
That's right. He has Oscar, I have Gary.
I'm a bigger Gary Lewis and the Playboys fan than I am Jerry Lewis. So what can I tell you? You got the
But
better end
that's
of the stick.
that's so sad.
That is sad.
Oh,
And
I
then-
was...
So when did you start demanding the DNA test, or asking for one?
I never
never did?
asked him for one, no.
No, you never asked Jerry. You never looked for a dime. You
No.
never said it. Just doesn't want anything to do with you.
Inside Edition
Yeah.
got a hold of both of us and said, what about a DNA test? Would you guys be willing to do that? So,
And what is a DNA test? Just blood?
no, getting swabbed on the inside of the
You
mouth.
take cells. yeah.
Right. Takes 2 seconds, right, Ron?
Yeah.
It could be hair too, right?
And, yeah,
Everything,
hair, something.
So then they gave us, we came to New York 2 weeks ago and went to Inside Edition, and they gave us the results on camera, and it was 88.7% that we are related.
Wow.
And that's as close as you can get without
With a
fathers.
sibling, yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So if Jerry
And a
did it,
special marker.
Right.
A rare marker.
Yeah, some rare marker we matched on.
So it's like 100%, man.
Yeah.
yeah.
I think it was a permanent marker.
I don't know.
So where do we go from here? I mean, you guys have a book, I guess. Let's see what's going on here. Let me see. Susan Lewis's book, Jerry's Kid, the Susan Lewis stories in stores now, and you go into great detail about that. It's not in
Soon.
Oh, it's going to be in soon.
Yeah.
Okay.
And that book never comes out, as far as I know. It may like let me just check real quick. Okay.
Maybe there was stuff they couldn't get past the lawyers.
Probably.
Yeah, that's what usually happens with that kind of thing.
Jerry's Kid.
She, watching the video for this on the
Yeah.
Wig Show,
Not
you can
available.
kind of see she's a little fidgety, shifty. Like you can kind of see she's a little bit off.
Yeah, and the as far as I know, there was no release of this book. She said coming soon. This was what
Yeah.
Rick was talking about. Rick Sapphire. They were working on it, and it would have been an amazing story. Actually,
Yeah.
I mean, what he tells in the book that I just mentioned is good enough. But she couldn't vet it. I'm sure there was something like Jerry's lawyers made sure to
Right.
fuck with it or something. You can't call it Jerry's Kid, and then there would have been like other problems, and she probably just didn't want to deal with it because it was work. She didn't want to actually do work.
Right.
Yeah.
You can go to SusanLewis.com. Is that the website where you're doing some of the old Jerry Lewis
Yeah.
stick?
And it's Susan with a Z, not Susan with an S, because Susan with an S goes not Z.
Right.
Remember that.
And you can check out Gary Lewis and the Playboys.com, of course. So
Yeah.
where do we go from here with this? I mean, I imagine your dad's angry with you for giving the DNA test.
I wonder how many times she repeated the Susan with the Z thing, like the
a
Liza with
shtick.
a Z. Not because like the other thing that was in the book too was when she said that she
Oh, the
was
stomach
more
turner.
like stomach turner
Right.
instead of Lana Turner, stomach turner. So
Right.
I guess that's one of her gimmick lines too.
Yes, it's totally stock, and she's decided to make that. Well, because they made a stand-up act for her, basically, which was going to be like her mimicking
Oh, no.
Jerry, who used to mime to records. That was one of his thing back in the day, and he does it in, I think it was in the Bellboy, where he does that thing where
Yeah.
he sits at the executive table and over an orchestra, he starts berating people and telling them what to do silently, but he mouths it, kind of thing. Have you seen that?
No, I mean, doesn't he do the typewriter gimmick? What,
That was also, yeah, but let me see if I
Yeah.
can find it. So this is from the Errand Boy, not the Bellboy, guys. I had he has more films at that time than you can shake a
Boy
stick
films.
at. So
Good music. Yeah, I've never seen this. It's actually choreographed pretty good.
It's choreographed very well, and it was just a gimmick that he did when early on. But this was something, something on top of all that.
Yeah.
Yeah. So and so Jerry knew his thing. He was very adept at his craft. I mean, he learned and explained it in interviews. He basically every time he was on when he had break times or like down times in a film, he'd go to the camera department and he'd spend hours with them, listening to them, asking them questions about what they did. So he said, by the time I was done enough films, like, by the time I was done making a bunch of films, I had already received like a master's degree in how to do film production, every aspect of it, lighting, filming, art direction, everything.
Did he direct the clown movie, the Nazi clown?
He never finished it. He never finished it. There's the rough cut that we're still waiting to see, The Day the Clown Cried.
Right. But he directed that, right?
Yes.
Okay, that's what I thought. Yeah.
I believe he did. Yes, I'm pretty sure he did. Hold on, let me make sure of that, because I know he wrote it. And let's see.
I think, what's his name from Spinal Tap? He
Harry
saw
Shearer.
it. Ed Sheeran. Yeah, Ed Sheeran.
Ed Shearer.
I mean, yeah, Shearer. Yeah,
Harry Shearer.
Harry Shearer. Yeah, Ed Shearer. Yeah.
Okay.
I guess
Directed
he's one of the people that saw it.
Yeah, directed by Jerry Lewis. Yeah, screenplay by Jerry Lewis. The story was by somebody else, Joan O'Brien and Charles Denton. So it says here, of course, in August 2024, all 5 hours of the film's footage held by the Library of Congress was screened for journalist Benjamin Charles Germain Lee, who confirmed in a subsequent article that what exists is fragmentary and that a fully finished film does not exist. So what Harry Shearer saw, and I think he wrote about it in Cracked magazine originally, but he was on the Stern Show talking about it. He said there was no score, like there was no, there are parts where there's silence. Maybe there's silence while, there's supposed to be an orchestra over top of it. But he did see it when someone showed it to him, and he says it's like a velvet, like a velvet Mexican painting of the Last Supper.
Yeah, I'd still like to see it, or maybe you never know. Maybe it's good if they put the right score, put a score to it and. Might be good.
He said he goes with most of these kind of things, you find that the anticipation or the concept is better than finding the thing itself. But seeing this film was really awe-inspiring in that you're rarely in the presence of a perfect object. This was a perfect object. This movie is so drastically wrong. Its pathos and its comedy are so wildly misplaced that you could not, in your fantasy of what it might be, improve on what it really is. Oh my God, that's all you can say. Spy magazine, not Cracked. I got it wrong. Yeah. So he goes, it's not funny. It's not good. Someone's trying too hard in the wrong direction to convey this strongly held feeling. I'm desperate to see it, actually.
I'd love to see it. I mean, it sounds like it's like, wasn't that movie, Jacob the Liar?
You got it.
It sounds like the same thing as that, yeah.
Yeah, Life is Beautiful had the same theme. Yeah. That too. Jacob the Liar was the Robin Williams one, which I'm sure Williams knew about and said, like, okay, well, let's do our version, see if we can make it work. And I'm sure he had the hubris to think, I can improve on Jerry Lewis.
And I saw the Life is Beautiful. I saw that in the theater too.
Yeah.
And it sounds like the same premise for both movies.
Pretty much.
You're going to win a tank. If you're good, you win a tank.
Yeah.
I'm imagining that, yeah.
And I don't know exactly why.
I noticed that when your father was honored at the Academy Awards, you were not there.
Right.
No
Why
kidding.
not? I mean, wouldn't he have his whole family there?
No, he has a new family now.
Oh, no kidding.
Yes.
Are you on the outskis? I mean, are you?
No, not really.
I mean, do you throw out your kids with the old family? I heard you always keep the kids.
I'm trying not to be negative.
When's the last time
you're being unbelievably nice? The two of you are.
I know.
When's the last time you tried to?
That's the one thing I totally agree with. Gary Lewis could be a complete shithead about everything.
No, he's very well adjusted for Wiggy complaining about Ben Stern. He's not complaining really. He just moved on. Seems like a nice guy to learn guitar from if he teaches lessons.
I think he was a drummer actually for his own band. He was almost like Dave Clark. But so he teaches drum and guitar. He taught music, but I think he teaches guitar as well.
Yeah.
The thing is, and Howard, I know the reason why Howard's so on with this interview, because he actually is doing, as you said, a good job for a change. He would listen. He's actually intrigued because he knows Jerry is just like he is.
Right.
And it's the same reason he was fascinated with Jason Kaplan's mother and that relationship he had with him. If it's so close to home, he's all in, because it is essentially talking about himself in a weird way.
Jason Kaplan's mother was brutal. She's just like, I don't know how he put up with that. It made me feel bad for Jason, who I can't really stomach him, but I felt bad for him because it's like, that's what he had to put up with.
Yeah, you listened to that episode. Yeah, you've heard that audio before anyway. But it makes you like, if for a minute you put anybody else but Jason in there, you feel like you got to give that person a hug.
Right.
But Jason did not handle it the right way, and he didn't write her off. He should have.
Yeah, well, the thing was funny was Howard saying, "Oh, why don't you write her off?" It's like, yeah, but your mother did basically the same thing. But even Ray's not that brutal. Ray's got her issues, but not this lady. Just was oblivious that how rotten she was.
And she came off really poorly, but anyway, we truncated a lot of it, guys. Believe me, the stuff we talked about him, Howard trying to make her like sexualize her, was the worst. I remember telling Kayla, we're not doing this because he was doing that because he knew Jason was in the room.
Yeah, that's a great QF episode. If you guys haven't heard it yet, go back and listen.
Yeah.
Contact him.
Last Father's Day.
And he wouldn't get on the phone?
Oh, yeah, he got on the phone. He yelled at me.
What did he say?
Well, that's a whole nother show.
Really?
Yeah, that's a whole nother
he yelled
story.
At you. You're a grown man, an accomplished man, and he yelled at you.
Yeah.
And what did you do wrong?
It's too involved.
Wow.
It's
sad.
It's way too involved, yeah.
I'm sure
I'm just sorry I would love to listen to Gary Lewis talk about it, because he's still alive, as far as I know. He's been on a couple Zoom calls and doing interviews, and I'm certain I could get him to do an interview, but I don't know that he really wants to dwell on it. Maybe it's one of those things where he's just thinking, well, Dad's dead, doesn't matter now. But I don't know if he has a book out, but I'd love to read his book. Yeah.
He's like, when he said, what did you say? He's like, it reminded me like, oh, the poor ain't that bad. I'm like, oh my God, you said, from History of the World.
Yeah.
Get on the phone and yell at you about this.
Yeah, probably. But I'm not trying to be negative towards him. I'm just doing something nice for Susan. That's all.
And I think what you did for Susan is fabulous. I really, truly do. I think everyone does have a right to know who their parents are.
Definitely.
And Susan, even though she looks like Jerry Lewis, wants confirmation on some biological level.
Sure.
The technology exists. And why not? I mean, this is something that's going to trouble her.
It wasn't
otherwise.
her fault, any of it.
Right.
Yeah.
It was that. Oops. I'd like
Susan,
to put a good word in for Jerry, if I may.
Why?
My father.
Why? Why?
Because I understand him. I may not want it to be this way, but I understand.
No, you
why.
don't.
Yes, I do.
No, you're trying to make him into the good father he never was.
No, I understand the problems he's had in his life, and that's what makes us who we are.
Would you do that?
Again, this is a very evolved way of thinking. I think most people, and maybe because in her heart she also knows, I'm choosing to do this junket right now, and I don't have to. I had, like I was fine with everything according to Rick's book. That this was not necessary. And once I determined that I'm his father, I've done the confrontation. There really is no recourse. Someone should have been in her life saying, okay, that's enough now. He doesn't want anything to do with you, or you weren't aware of this threat being issued to Jerry. It doesn't make Jerry less of a shit, but to certainly understand the nuances a bit better after reading the book.
It's really sad because she seems like a fun girl, like just watching her and just, that you go out and have a good time with her.
Yeah, and by good time, you mean like just joking around, not screwing her.
Like just, go to the bar and just make fun of shit. And I don't know. She seems like she's funny.
She's got charm. There's no question. She's very charming. You can tell. But and Gary God, the way Gary turned out, his Gary Lewis, his mother must have been some mother, because he or his wife or whoever is in his life, or I'm not sure, but he also could be very bitter, but he's not.
I think it's because, he did great with his business and the music stuff, and, it just kind of took care of himself and moved on. And he, was successful in all of it. So I guess that's what keeps him grounded.
Yeah. Meanwhile, Howard's 71 years old, still bitching about his mother and his father that they didn't do enough for him to play guitar. Fuck off.
To a child?
No, but
so why is he
but
good?
I don't know. I didn't live his life. If I'd lived his life,
Well,
maybe.
I don't care. We're all human.
Yeah.
And we all take responsibilities for what we do.
We try.
We try.
Except you.
Yeah, and getting back to him, if Ray and Ben knew that he wanted to learn guitar, he would have had a guitar. He had a keyboard. He had a recording studio that, he recorded stuff. And he they bought him the keyboard so he could have his band and stuff.
He admitted this many times. He admitted this. That's the problem. Like I said this to in a recent episode I cut with Kayla, that they gave him anything he wanted. He got.
They built him the puppet theater when he wanted to do puppets.
Right.
They encouraged everything that he wanted to do.
Yes.
They sent him to, Ben probably didn't think he had a chance in hell of ever being on the radio, but they still paid for him to go to school to do it.
Yep. And without question, Ben put got him in the door at some gigs trying to get him, and he did. He did, absolutely. Yeah. And he fucked off on some gigs too.
Yeah.
And so I think Ben was incredibly disappointed with Howard, no matter how famous he got.
Right.
He's like, you got famous for basically if you were a gay porn actor and made your millions that way, it would have been just as embarrassing. Yeah.
And then basically also, I'm sure he realized that one of the reasons that Wiggy got propped up is because he had the right people around him.
Absolutely. Yep.
Right, too. He had a child. He was aware of it. And if he was aware of the child, would you torture a child with never contributing?
No,
now,
but
would you do that?
He did help out in the beginning for a little while.
So you're still trying to make him the good dad. I understand this from a psychological standpoint. You pine away for the great dad.
But we're not sure he's angry. He may not be angry.
Well, he's not talked to Gary in a year.
No,
and he yelled at him on Father's Day.
Well, that wasn't good.
What do you mean?
But he always yells.
What do you mean that's good?
That's true.
What's good about that?
No, that's not good, but it's life.
Yeah, but we really don't know even what he thinks about all this.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, I have no idea.
Wouldn't it be nice for him to tell you, though?
Yeah.
But Gary, you think maybe Gary's right, and he doesn't want to open the floodgates? If he says yes to her, maybe he realizes 50 more kids.
It could be.
He could open the floodgates.
Susan, let's say you had an affair with a man. He gets you pregnant, and then he leaves. Okay. And then he tortures your son for the rest of his life and will not admit to being the father of the child. You would be mad at that man, wouldn't you? You wouldn't say he was a great guy.
You wouldn't be defending him.
Okay, well, I guess so. What's not being said here is that, like what I said earlier, his mother fucked around on her existing husband with Jerry, got pregnant, and Jerry was 25 and she was 30. And she went for the monkey-looking guy instead of the suave Italian singer.
Yeah, that made me laugh. I read that twice, and I laughed both times.
Yeah,
but then she wanted the monkey-like man instead of the suave Italian singer.
Yes, and apparently Milton Berle introduced her to Jerry. Actually, yeah, and Jerry's big thing was he would tell all of his girls that he fucked that he's in the process of divorcing his wife. So for something 30-something years, they didn't get divorced until the late 70s or early 80s, Jerry and his first wife. And so they would just wait around and he'd string them along until he's like, well, we're getting divorced. We're getting divorced. And that was the line they expected to be the next Miss Jerry Lewis. Never happened.
Yeah, it was the fish-in line, yeah.
Yeah.
I didn't say... I think he's a great guy in many ways.
He's a tremendous entertainer.
Yeah.
And no one will ever take that away from him. But you're his daughter, and he doesn't even want to say hello to you.
If I were...
You don't want to say hello to any of your kids, asshole.
Yeah, I know, huh?
This is where he gets to hang himself. I love this stuff.
In front of him,
yes,
he wouldn't be able to do any of that. He would just break down. I know, because
he won't be in front of you.
Yeah, but he's not letting himself be in front of you.
That's the thing.
Robin, what do you make of this?
Well, I see the usual syndrome. She loves her father so much she can't criticize him.
Right.
And she wants to think the best of him. And, she's still hoping that one day he'll understand that she means him no harm and that it'd be safe to reach out to her.
Is it true you went to see Jerry in concert and he had you move your seat because he could see you?
Yes, but
that had to be a great experience.
That's horrible.
You went to sit and view him.
Wonder who did the research for him, because he's actually bringing up like good ways to maneuver the topics.
That's in the Rick's. That's in the Rick Sapphire book as well. She went to this. It was a speaking engagement, not a concert. That's where Wiggy's an idiot. But when did Jerry Lewis ever have a concert?
That was saying what would he do? Get up and sing or
croon?
And nobody's looking for that.
Nobody is. No, not even at the end of the telethon. So she went, and it was a big clusterfuck. And Rick and her stood their ground and said, "Look, we paid for the ticket. This ticket entitles us to stay right here. We don't have to move." They tried to strong arm them, or like the security tried to get them to no, you have to get out because there's no, and that's, there's no reason for a place to bar people who are not doing anything to anybody when you pay a ticket to sit at a venue.
Yeah, but see, this is the difference between now he's letting them answer the question. And not just barrel-assing to the next question.
Or presuming too much. He's presuming a little bit, but he's not just knocking them over to get his voice out.
Yeah, isn't it true your father beat up old women on the corner? It's no, he didn't do that. That's what the shows come down to these days.
Yeah. And the one thing is that, it's funny. There was a Dick Cavett interview with Jerry Lewis where he comes off incredibly well, except there's at one point this audience member asked, "How are your family? How are your wife and kids?" And he said, "Oh, how old are your kids and what are they doing now?" He said, "They're," and he gives the list of ages and he goes, "And they're at home and they're all about being loved." Meanwhile, he did not talk about how he used corporal punishment in that household, and that the sons, there was one son that I think passed away, the one that had a drug overdose. I think he did release a book. It was a poison pen book, and he said it was a miserable existence, and living. It was the story of living with a narcissist. And I may look, if that book's available, I may look for that one too, because I'd love to read about the inside shit. Because that's, by reading it, I think you're going to get more insight into Howard's life.
I wish I had the quote with when Howard talked about him with the office in his bathroom to stay away from the kids.
Yeah,
and I wish I had that episode that he said that before.
Well, it would have been. Who knows when it would have been? Yeah. But if I look on Mark's friggin', maybe I'll find something. We'll see.
In the flesh at a concert, because you miss your father. You want a real father.
Oh, I just wanted to watch him. I wasn't going to approach him or anything. I would have liked him to want me to.
He spotted you in the audience, and what did he do?
Well, he didn't look at me. He must have seen me from, backstage. He never looked at me once, and he even turned his back to me. But I could see he was shaking. Not only in anger, but fear. And I just wish he weren't afraid of this, because there's nothing to be afraid of. I lived in a car. I had no food and I didn't go to him. Why would I,
Do you think she never even knew about that, her not adopted father, but her stepfather threatening Jerry?
I bet she didn't know.
Even at this point in time, she didn't know?
When was the book that we were reading? When was that written?
Oh God,
Was that before or after this interview?
Okay, 2024 just came out.
Okay,
September 2024.
She might not know.
I think at that time she might not know, and he would know more because of his connections, basically. Rick Sapphire, from his uncle, from people that knew, like people that are willing to talk. And now that Jerry's dead, more people are willing to talk.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I lived in a car 2 or 3 different times.
Gary, did you ever consider that proving that Susan is your sister, if there is a will and Jerry has put you in it, is there a chance that she could get a cut now and cut down your amount that you're going to?
Oh, no.
She can have my amount.
She can have it.
She can have it.
I believe Gary when he says that.
Gary's a really good guy.
I am
Gary seems like he's in a healthy place.
Gary, you seem like a great guy.
Yes, he
I
is.
really do. I really have that feeling
We
about
should
you.
give him the real humanitarian award, really.
But why do you think you're not an angry man? Why do you think after all this and having a father that doesn't get in touch with you? And
He's an 11.
Why are you an 11?
Well,
Robin, you should marry Gary Lewis. Are you still married?
Yeah,
You
yes,
are?
Yes.
I would hook you up with Robin.
see, all the good ones are married. Huh?
All the good ones.
Yeah.
I tried to get her Dr. Drew Pinsky, but I can't. And now you're taken.
Can I ask Susan one question?
He's a good man, this guy.
He seems like an unbelievable guy.
Yeah.
How long ago was that day you saw him in France?
Exactly 1980.
Okay, so why? So you knew for 4 years at that point that he
Right.
was your father.
Right.
Did you go to France? Did you think
No,
like
she
maybe
lived there.
But he
I
was like a
didn't-
hero in France.
Yes, he still is.
And is that why you went there? Maybe you thought.
No, we didn't get to that, but I moved there when I was 19. I married a Frenchman and moved to Paris.
Right.
And I raised 2 children there. And I was there for 14 years. So 1980 was in there.
Oh.
Wonder what it is with the French that, like, why they love Jerry Lewis so much.
That's addressed in the book, actually. Someone said because they don't understand that he's retarded or something like that. Jesus Christ Almighty!
Wow.
I don't know exactly why that was, to be honest with you.
I mean, is it like any link to mimes or something? I mean,
Well,
guess they think mimes are funny too.
Well, he idolized, Stan Laurel, Laurel and Hardy.
Yeah,
he
right.
idolized
Yeah.
Buster Keaton, and like certain people in the business, Charlie Chaplin, certainly. And he was a master, like in terms of physical comedy and stuff. The problem was, and part of the book addresses it as well. Dean and Jerry worked for a long time because Dean kind of he softened the edges, because if you just see Jerry going off like a retard, you laugh, but will you laugh every single time? Doesn't it get grating after a while? Doesn't it seem like, what's a grown man acting like this for? It seems pathetic. And so his audience grows out of him, and all of a sudden they don't want to listen to him or watch him anymore. I guess it would be like the Three Stooges. You can enjoy it as a kid. As an adult, you can enjoy a bit of it once in a while, but you can't watch it the same way as you did as a kid incessantly.
Yeah, well, Three Stooges, like I never get sick of those. I'll still watch them, but like you said, I don't watch them constantly.
Right.
If they're on, I still laugh at it because it's so stupid. But
it is incredibly
stupid. As a kid, I loved Jerry Lewis. I thought he was great. I mean, I even went out and collected money for when the telethon was on.
Yeah.
Because I loved him so much, and but yeah, and I thought those movies were a riot, and now I watch them like, oh no, like now I guess it'd be the equivalent of like that's my age doesn't really get Adam Sandler. I just don't find those movies funny with him acting retarded.
Well, this is the end of the book. I got to read this really quickly. It's epilogue, and he misspells it, but God knows, there's a lot of problems with this Kindle version, but nothing. At least it's out there. That's the key. Okay. Based on my personal interactions with Jerry Lewis, ranging from my early childhood throughout the years I represented him theatrically, I wondered, is there a real Jerry Lewis? And that was the man's lifelong dilemma. When on stage or in the movies, being the crazy, lovable, quote-unquote kid, wreaking havoc with the world at large, he was acting. When he turned on the serious mode while discussing how essentially he taught Dean Martin how to be a good straight man, or how he invented the video assist, which apparently he didn't.
Yeah.
I thought for years he did, but apparently he did not. He was acting. When he wrote letters to his wife Patty in the 1950s about how much he loved her, fearing that if she left him he would die, he was acting. In the 1960s, when he began lamenting about wanting a daughter because he only had sons, he was acting. Jerry Lewis was only acting. The only time he was always acting. There was only one time I saw him being real, being himself. We were together in Berlin, Germany, on a personal appearance tour. We were at a mall. Jerry and I were sitting at a couple comfortable chairs at the rear of the store when a woman came along pushing a baby stroller. The woman parked the infant stroller in front of Jerry and me, and she looked at a nearby display. She obviously had no idea who Jerry Lewis was, and the infant in the stroller didn't know what day it was. Jerry stared at the baby, who was about 6 months old. The child blankly stared back into Jerry's eyes. Under his breath, Jerry asked the baby, "Do you know who I am?" In those few words, I heard a man in search of his soul asking an infant to assure him that he was somebody. This time, Jerome Levitch was not acting. This was the real Jerry Lewis. So I think that's incredible.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Well, the other time you saw him was when Johnny said, "Well, we don't remember the clip you played in part one."
Yeah.
Like that was real. You saw a glimpse of being hurt.
Yeah. Johnny. I'm not sure if I clipped that. I thought maybe I edited that out actually, but I don't know. I don't know if I did. But he could get easily offended. Like he'd not have a thick skin. You expect that as a comic, you're supposed to have a thick skin. Sometimes it's not true. The actual fact is they're incredibly butthurt at this littlest of things. And he was a latchkey kid. He wasn't even a latchkey kid. He called himself a FedEx kid because he was raised by so many different relatives because his parents were on the road working all the time. But not like Ben Stern. I'm talking about never saw him.
So he's kind of the same in my view that he was great in King of Comedy, but he's kind of basically playing himself. A version of himself.
Yeah.
And the same with Adam Sandler was great in Uncut Gems. I really thought he was really good. And Robin Williams, I love it when he can play a straight role and he's not being manic.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't like him when they act retarded.
Guys, Wayne made reference to something that, in actual fact, I thought maybe I'd forgotten it. I left it in, or I cut it out and I didn't realize it. No, it was from the first go around when we recorded, or thought we recorded, this first part one, but we didn't. So I'm going to play it here. It's on it's an anniversary show for Carson. It might have been his 10-year anniversary or something like that from 1972. Jerry Lewis is on there with Joey Bishop, what's his name? Jack Benny and George Burns, and Johnny hits him with a truth smart bomb, and you could tell Jerry's upset by it. I want you guys to let me know what you think of it.
Is that you get a chance to get together with people that we all live here. I rarely see George or Jack or Joey or Ed. You don't see me much either. You ever heard maybe nobody likes you? Now, Jerry, I just say that in jest. He's hurt. No. There could be a lot of, there's tremendous truth and humor.
The first take that he, the first look on his face, he's like, whoa. And then he kind of how am I going to handle this?
Yes.
You can read his mind just watching.
But you could also, the way, when I saw that the first time, I thought that was Carson knowing how hated Jerry is in the business by other people and just wanting to throw it out there because he's just like, fuck it, let's see if he can handle it.
Yeah.
And that would be Carson being a bit of a dick. But is it being a dick when you're being a dick to a dick?
Right. It kind of is a wash.
Yeah.
Okay.
She was there already.
Right.
And since then, you've had that's the last time you saw him or spoke with him directly, 1980.
Directly, yes.
Wow.
I've sent him videos of me saying happy birthday last year. I've sent faxes, different things. And
do you know if any of this stuff gets to him?
Yes, my manager said he gets his faxes himself. So, and the video, he said he probably watched, because I kept saying, well, maybe he didn't watch it. Then no, he probably did. He has a morbid curiosity. He always says.
Wow. Well, hey, this is a sad story. I got to tell you too, Gary. I admire your generosity in saying to Susan, "I'll take a DNA test. Let's find out who you are."
Sure.
Susan,
have you two developed a relationship? I see you keep grabbing his hand.
It sounds
better. Yeah.
Well, the two of you, they say, I'm not trying to even be funny here, that when two people meet who have been in this situation, that there's an odd attraction to one another, that because you are technically brother and sister, but because you didn't know each other, that there's a weird attraction.
We had that the very first time we met, and he didn't really know the facts.
Right.
And I didn't tell him because I just went backstage to see him, and I just thought I'd like to, meet him. And
looking at that face would have been like an anvil hitting him in the head. There's no way.
Yeah, I know.
There's people that ran into her, like they were told about her, and they were like in the book, she's Jerry's clone. She absolutely looks just like him. And on her the Inside Edition video that we're going to play, they do like a side by side with her and Jerry, and it's frightening.
Well, like in the book when they describe it, said that she looks like Jerry in drag.
In drag, yeah.
Yeah.
He just gave me this long hug. And I just felt that he felt it too.
Oh, when you went backstage to meet Gary.
Yeah. The first time in 2005, I came out of the dressing room. I was ready to go on stage, and I met her, and she says, "I'm your sister."
Wow.
I'm just looking at her and I said, wow, boy, could be.
She might not be crazy. She might be telling the truth. That's pretty good.
She doesn't seem crazy at all.
No, not at all.
And you're not bad looking. You're not stomach turning. That's a funny joke, though.
Stomach turning, you like that?
Yeah. She also seems very funny and bubbly, like Jerry Lewis, by the way.
Absolutely.
Like you're both talented creatively, too. I guess that...
Well, it's a sad story to me, but maybe there's a happy end.
Yeah, Howard's sad.
Well, I'd say too bad she wouldn't hook up with Artie, but he wouldn't have helped her out either. The path he was going down.
No fucking way.
Who knows if she had any drug abuse to begin with, but seemed like they'd be a good pair. Seemed like they'd have fun, but he's a train wreck, and she turns into a train wreck.
But this is one of those interviews. First of all, Artie stood up, and the only time he ever stood up was, I think, for Don Rickles. And I think he was immensely fascinated with the story, and he wishes that he could have had like a 15 minutes or 20 minutes without Howard in the room to ask her certain other questions, because I think he's incredibly fascinated with the story.
And it would have been in Howard's interest to have Artie ask some questions, because he might have brought up some whole different angles.
Yes, especially with Gary. I'm sure he would love to have just Gary Lewis talk, because the music aspect is one thing, but also the relationship with Jerry. And they all sort of, when Jerry died, I think two of the sons were allowed to go, but the rest weren't. Gary was not invited to the funeral.
Oh, that's really sad.
Yeah.
And then you have each other.
Yeah.
And, that's nice.
That was the only thing I was trying to accomplish, was to find out for Susan.
One thing I've learned from Gary Lewis, the truth will set you free. Just tell the truth.
Absolutely.
And, don't be afraid.
I believe in that.
Yeah, right.
Jerry would have been much better off and could have had a nice little
Noelle Claire, no kidding, fucking
little relationship with Susan. And
his life would have been enriched.
And
absolutely.
You know what I really want? Of course, I would love to have my father again like that one day. And I'd love him to get back with his family, his other family. But if I can't do that, I was hoping, 83, he could start changing, some people do.
Yeah.
But if I can't, I at least want to, and you can read it in my book soon, I want to become a spokesperson for the homeless and disabled, because I know what it's like.
So, she didn't have to be homeless. This is what's bothering me. She didn't have to be homeless. This narrative was created because she made herself homeless.
I wonder if
she had a husband and two kids she ditched to go to the States, be a bag lady, to get near Jerry. But you moved to go to Florida, and then you end up in Philly. But he was based in Las Vegas.
I wonder how much of a factor it is of being accessibility to drugs. Is it easier in Florida, which is interesting, or is it harder in France to get a hold of illegal drugs?
No,
so I wonder if there's any drug aspect to this.
I don't think there's a single drug aspect to this, and people will be forgiven for thinking that, because when we'll watch the Inside Edition video, and you judge after that, and you let me know what you think. It's pure psychosis. It's something in her head.
I didn't watch it because I wanted to see it for the first time on the show.
Okay, well, we'll just wrap this up, and then we'll get into that video.
Homeless? Yeah.
And I'm sorry.
That's okay.
Maybe Jerry would have stepped in if he was more. It's so funny, this whole Jerry's kids thing. And
right, he's supposed to be Mr. Charity. I mean, your point is great, Mr. Charity. Yeah.
Maybe if you'd had muscular dystrophy, you would have been more accepted.
Little kids.
You would have got something.
You're a little too healthy.
You grew up.
Yeah. Well, I admire what you're saying here, and I'm sorry you had to go through this. And
There's another thing, Gary. What is your relationship with his new family?
My relationship.
Yeah, with Jerry's new family.
Oh.
Your dad.
Nothing.
You don't know the...
I know them.
But you don't spend any time, there's no family gatherings that you're included in?
No.
Doesn't sound like a big picnic happens once a year.
Doesn't sound like a loving situation.
That's what I'm going for.
I'm sure.
It's not that Telly Savalas video that we watched.
Yeah. Do you remember the Sam Kinison bit with Doug Beatty?
Yes.
He comes out.
From leader of the band.
One.
Fuck him. Yeah.
Yeah. Fuck Jerry. He's like, what are you saying? What are you saying? You hear him take him up back and beat him up.
Yeah.
That's a classic. I love that.
Doug was on the Stern Show for loads of times, actually, in the late 80s and early 90s. Yeah. Fuck Jerry. He never gave me dime one. I've been sitting here on my ass. You're one of Jerry's kids. It's too bad that
me a wheelchair.
It's too bad. It's too bad that album was so terrible. That Sam Kinison, leader of the band. There's like 2 little good bits on it, 3 bits maybe, and the rest is crap. And an entire half of the record is him singing.
Yeah, cover tunes. Yeah.
Yeah. That's because he had nothing left in the tank. He wasn't creating anything.
Well, even Live from Hell, like that album's better than Leader of the Band.
Oh, by far. Fuck yeah. That stuff about JFK and the Iraq War. Let me see if I can find that. I love that. I love that bit.
That's the one he's like, don't call him the Kuwait, call him the Fox.
This is his Captain Kangaroo bit, which I absolutely love. But you have to be a certain age to know, Mr. Green Jeans back in the day, right? Mr. Green Jeans was this guy, Lumpy Branham. I think he eventually committed suicide. He was in kids. He had a kids show as Mr. Green Jeans.
Take an example out of his ass. Come on, there's been other people in children's programming. Look at Captain Kangaroo. This man had to be Captain Kangaroo for over 30 fucking years. No scandal, no controversy, drank a lot. You would too. Fuck, man, I don't think the guy knew the show was going to go on 30 fucking years. God damn it, I'm Captain Kangaroo. I thought the fucking gig would last 2 or 3 years, and I'd spend my whole fucking life as Captain Kangaroo. He looked like a heavy fucking drinker. Yeah. Just at home going, I was an actor. Jesus Christ, I was in the actor's studio, and I wanted to do the death of a salesman. I wanted to wave Willie. I got him, Captain Kangaroo. But he kept it together. He was just, he's fucking discouraged all the time. Never saw him excited. He was like, good morning, boys and girls. All right. Hey, let's take the walk of death and go over here and talk to the Mr. Grandfather Clock, huh? All right. Yeah, all right. Oh, look, there's Mr. Bunny. How's it feel to have a hand up your ass, little fuck, huh? He was very fucking depressed, but he never fucking snapped. He held it together. Mr. Green Jeans took his own fucking life. Couldn't handle it. Woke up one day with, my God, I'm 63 and I'm Mr. Green Jeans! And took his fucking life. He's dead. Green Jeans is dead. He snapped. He snapped like a fucking rubber band. He lost it, man. He realized he was in career hell and went, oh, no! Kangaroo kept it together, but Green Jeans was dead. It was like, sorry, that's it. You're retired now. You can have a normal haircut. Remember that fucking haircut they used to make him when the guy was 50 and he looked like a mongoloid. He had that bowl on his head. That fucking cut, man, those lamb chops. He looked like an ass. He did. His wife probably gave him shit. I married a loser. Look at you. God, you told me you're an actor. You're Captain Kangaroo. People laugh at us when we go out. Can't help it, you fucking bitch. I'm under a contract. God damn it, I didn't know the show would last 30 years. CBS stands for cock-sucking bastard sons of bitches.
No, what's interesting is there was a girl on the show that committed suicide too. What was her name? Was Debbie?
Debbie Tay. Yeah.
Yeah.
Debbie Tay's ashes. That infamous thing. We're still waiting to do that.
No, on Captain Kangaroo.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah, she was in like one movie and she was on Captain Kangaroo. I think her name was Debbie, and she committed suicide too. So Green Jeans and her. So Captain, that's a part of the joke that didn't even happen yet when Sam did it.
Oh, I see. So it happened subsequently to that. Okay.
Yeah, her name was Debbie. It was in the later episodes, like when I was already in school, but she was on when it was Good Morning Captain. and she was like one of the visitors that used to come over. And she, I think I read recently that she killed herself. And then, and Captain Kangaroo was Clarabelle from the Howdy Doody show.
Yes.
Before he was Captain Kangaroo. But, and actually that show had a guy named Mr. Baxter, who was a black guy. And I remember seeing Mr. Baxter on that and then seeing Bill Cosby and thinking they were the same guy when I was really, really little.
Mm-hmm.
Because that's the only black people you'd see on TV, and I thought they were the same guy for a long time until then one time Bill Cosby was on Captain Kangaroo. I'm like, hey, wait a minute, that's not Mr. Baxter,
Yeah.
What do you think you did wrong in your father's eyes that he doesn't want to include you? What do you think you did wrong?
He wasn't always happy.
I don't think I did anything wrong. I'm not sure if my dad considers me competition or not.
Yeah, maybe it's that. I don't know.
I don't know. That's what I've been thinking.
You're confused by all this.
I am confused by it.
Okay.
There's one line in the book. I'm going to find it. I don't know if I made a note of it, but I'm going to have to bring it up because it was so telling. And if it really, really did happen. One sec. Part of the book, there's this quote that he said, Rick is quoted here saying, when I asked Jerry if he had ever discussed anger management with his doctors, his short answer was an insight into the disturbed thinking of someone I still admired. And he replied, I hate psychologists. I hate psychiatrists. All they want to do is change who I am. And I don't want that to happen. I countered, they can't change you unless you want to be changed. What he was saying was that he didn't want to be forced to look in the mirror.
I sounds like he doesn't even know why he was going to see psychiatrist.
Who?
If
Jerry Lewis.
Jerry, yeah. If why would you go if he was like saying he hates them because they try to change you.
But he loved who he was. Like, he loved who he was, but he had to say he also, I don't think, knew exactly what he was, and he had to be. My favorite quote was from Dave Thomas, who said he thinks that when Jerry made that Buddy Love character, he didn't want to be anybody else because that person had all the answers, got all the chicks, and he was cool, he was this, whatever. But Buddy Love wasn't cool. He was a bit of an asshole. Like, he was an asshole character, and he said he got so much more fan mail for Buddy Love than for the professor that he said it bothered him. It shocked him how many people wanted to know Buddy Love, the character.
No, it is strange, but that's life, really.
Well,
I mean, most of the time, like, women like assholes.
Confident guys with confidence, which unfortunately happens to be also assholes a lot of the time. So yeah,
right.
Yep. Anyway, we'll finish this off and then we'll get to the other clip, guys. Hold on.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
I have another theory. I think he could be sorry now for not having helped you, and now that you did it on your own, he feels maybe helpless that, well, I didn't even help him, and there he is. He's got everything, and I can't give him anything.
Wow, I mean,
just
who
a theory.
knows? Who knows?
Do you have other siblings, Gary?
Yeah, 5 brothers.
And does he have relationships with them?
No.
Oh, my God.
Wow. Heavy stuff. And he's an old man. You think he'd want to...
That's why I said I've given up trying to figure out how he thinks.
Are they?
Well, the other thing is they're going to keep talking about it. A lot of the times when people get divorced, the kids are just a reminder of everything they failed at. And that's why they don't want to spend time with the kids. And it's really horrible because the kids are not responsible for that. They're you made them. Suck it up and be there for the kids.
Well, I mean, but then it's kind of no different than Howard saying, I spent time with my kids when I needed to. It was basically on my terms when I felt like it,
Yep.
No different.
None.
They more angry than you with that, Gary?
No, because they hang closer to him.
Oh, okay.
In case there is anything in the will.
Wow.
Right. They're thinking more like me.
But I believe they're going to be terribly disappointed.
Well, I'm sorry, but that's how I feel.
Susan, if Jerry does die.
Sounds like Gary is also not exactly super tight with his brothers either, because he's sort of self-made. I mean, he had help from his mother, obviously, but who didn't have help from a fucking parent growing up doing something? Most people did. But he has he's like, he's unbelievably present about what will eventually entail. Like, it seems like he knows exactly what the arc of the career is going to be. He knows that the will is going to be a big problem with some of the other siblings, and he doesn't want any part of it because he knows, he can see coming down the line what's coming.
Yeah, and really, why bother? He's better off he just live your good life, you know.
Yeah. Yeah. Don't expect anything. You know, if you don't expect anything, you can't get disappointed.
Right.
Yeah.
One day, which who knows if he ever will. He might just go on and on. Will you ever claim that, hey, I'm owed some money here because I am the daughter of Jerry Lewis? I should be in his will. I should be recognized. Will you think you'll come forward with a claim?
I'm the kind of person, I have a family member I won't mention who has everything, millions, multi-millions.
Right.
When I called that person and I told them, and I only told them what my situation was, I expect people, if they care about me, they should offer. I shouldn't have to ask for anything.
Right.
And I didn't, and it wasn't forthcoming. But that's the way I am. I feel if someone knows what my situation is and they care about me, why would they wait till I ask them for something?
So, in other words, you're not going to ask.
No.
You're going to.
Oh, no.
No, that's not your style.
You know what? I'm a sucker. Give me a call this afternoon. I'll give you whatever you need.
Okay.
Who's out there with you?
So basically, yeah, like she was like Blanche Dubois. She was dependent on the kindness of strangers or people to see her through things, and she became a little bit entitled in a way.
The thing, the thing though is, if she did call Artie, he would have hooked her up.
I think so too.
That's the kind of guy he is.
I think he has a sympathy for the situation.
Yeah.
And I think he has not empathy, because he has different background, different lifestyle he had growing up, and he had a parent and he had a mother and father, even if his dad did die, younger than he should have.
Yeah.
But I think on a human level, he feels bad for her.
Oh yeah.
Who's out there with you? Where is Jerry Jr., as you call him? Are they with you out there?
No, I had to leave them in France. Another sob story. I couldn't get them out of the country because they're French citizens.
Oh.
So I cried for about 10 years every time I saw a child. And when I got over that, I realized that I did the right thing, though. They had a very good father, and I felt boys should have a father figure. And I was the martyr. I said, well, I don't have my kids, but at least they have a good life.
Right.
And I don't know if I can give them that.
Jesus. So she, like I said, she ditched her kids.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like this is like a cycle going on in search of what? Jerry?
It sounds like that's why she wanted to return to America, because it was never ended.
Yeah.
It was never went full circle.
Very strange.
They didn't have a mother. That's not good, but they had everything else, and I don't regret that.
Well, you don't have contact with your children?
Oh, yes, definitely.
Okay.
They're wonderful.
Check out Gary Lewis at Gary Lewis and theplayboys.com. Look for Susan Lewis's book, Jerry's Kid, The Susan Lewis Story, which will be in store soon. And for more information, go to susanlewis.com. Thanks, you guys.
Thanks, Howard.
I'm fascinated by this.
Well, we'll stay in touch.
Okay,
I hope
cool.
so.
Yeah, we'll talk to you. Don't worry about it.
Okay.
Anytime you want.
Gary and Susan, that's quite a story you guys have.
I know, it's amazing.
Now, by coming on the show and talking about it, do you think this is going to get the word's going to get to Jerry? Do you think anything's going to come of this?
I think he's probably going to be mad at us.
Really?
Yeah, I don't know why, really. It has nothing to do with anything. Can't hurt his career.
And if nothing comes of this, it seems like you two are okay with that, right?
I only wanted to do this DNA test thing for Susan, so she would know who she is, where she comes from, and that was the extent of what I wanted. That's it. That's all I wanted.
And Susan, you said you're okay with this if nothing comes of this whole thing.
Well, I'll be sad, but that's all. But I think that in order for me to try and help the homeless and the disabled, I need to have some credibility, because people just don't listen to you because you want to send a message. You have to be someone, and And if anything, if I can get that, which I think I have, thanks to you, thanks to Gary, then I'm happy. But of course, I would love to have a big, happy family, but, you know.
Yeah, well, forget about it.
Well, at least you two have each other. You seem very happy that you have each other. You know, it's good. Yeah. So you guys had a good time today on the show?
Great time. Good seeing Howard again.
It was wonderful.
All right, well, thank you for coming on the show.
Thanks.
And good luck with the book, Susan.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Okay, so we'll leave it right there, and we'll go into the Inside Edition thing.
I really don't think the two of them came off, not attacking Jerry at all. They just said what happened.
So this is from 7 years ago, and to this day, guys, I seem to recall she did pass away, but I can't find the article, as I mentioned. But here's from Inside Edition, the website itself on YouTube, the channel rather. This is what we got.
Behind every homeless person, there is a story. And in this woman's case, there's quite a story indeed.
Hey, how you doing?
I found Susan Lewis, the daughter of late comic legend Jerry Lewis, in a parking lot in Philadelphia. She lives on the streets and carries her belongings around in shopping bags. What do you have in here, by the way?
A little of everything.
A little everything? She spends most of her time at a local food court. It's cool in the summer, warm in the winter. Does it get lonely out here?
It can be. If you have to be in the street, you may as well have people around you so you don't feel isolated. I don't like feeling isolated. Hi!
When she scrapes together some money, she buys a meal at a Chinese restaurant. Then it's back out on the street.
People are going to ask, how did you end up here? How did you end up in the street?
It's just something that happened.
Susan was born out of wedlock back in the 1950s. Her mother, a beautiful model named Lynn Dixon, had a 3-year affair with Jerry Lewis. DNA tests have established that there is an 88.7% certainty that Susan is Jerry Lewis's daughter.
You grew up always believing that Jerry Lewis was your father.
Well, yeah, he would see me whenever he could.
On Susan's cell phone, there was a constant reminder of her heritage. This striking side-by-side image.
Oh, wow. Wow.
I could make the same one for the purposes of our show. And it's incredible.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No Photoshop whatsoever.
There's a resemblance.
Wow.
You think?
Even a little cleft chin right there.
She even does Jerry's zany shtick.
Hey, lady!
Jerry Lewis never acknowledged Susan was his daughter.
How did you hear that he had passed?
Oh, a friend had heard about it first. We can't follow the news because we don't have a television.
Jerry Lewis's estate is estimated at $50 million. Yet his daughter uses public restrooms in hotels and restaurants to wash up and even bathe.
Now, this is, again, making it to be a sob story, but we know a little more about the story than they're willing to go into or bother doing the work. But then this book wasn't out until 7 years after this was released. So they could have used it. They said his estate was $50 million. That's that whole bullshit. What's it called? Celeb net worth and stuff. I don't think Jerry had a whole hell of a lot. He might have had some equity in terms of the homes, but he had an auction recently after he passed away. Not recently. After he passed away, they auctioned off a lot of his stuff, and it was incredible the amount of 14 karat gold, everything, watches, fucking cufflinks, medallions. He had so much shit. That swag, like lighters and stuff. There were a couple of cool things. His watches, a lot of them were high end back in the day, but a lot of them were gifts. Like what was it? The one one of them was an engraved watch from Sammy Davis Jr. from 1958.
Well, see, that's something that's something you'd want.
But somebody would want it. But the problem is that when you're in that family, when you're trying to get rid of it, the realization is sometimes all you're doing is holding on to memories, but it meant something to Jerry. It doesn't necessarily mean something to you, so you get rid of it. But as a piece of memorabilia, Hollywood memorabilia, I think it would be worth a lot of money. If you saw the prices some of these things went for, it'd be amazing. But the most expensive stuff were like scripts, scripts for movies that he had made.
It's actually surprising that a lot of those old time Hollywood people, they don't, when they die, they're not when you see the houses weren't that great.
No.
It's not like now where they have like an unbelievable lifestyle with, tons of houses. But the old time Hollywood, you see, oh, this used to be somebody blah blah blah's house, and I'm like, really, that's it?
Yep.
You'd be surprised.
She gets around by bus, and she uses a laundromat to clean her clothes.
The sun's going down now.
Yeah.
What do you normally do in terms of trying to figure out where you're going to sleep?
Well,
when night falls, Susan heads to her storage locker. There, she keeps her possessions, including the stuff she'll need for the night.
This is our cardboard house. David!
Together with her good friend Dave, Susan heads out into the night. Their bed is a metal bench. A mattress is fashioned out of newspaper and cardboard. Here they settle down for the night, hoping that tomorrow will be a better day.
I just make the best of it, and there's no point in being negative all the time because then you'd be miserable.
So, yeah, go ahead.
So they don't stay inside the storage unit. They go outside. They just keep their stuff there.
That's right. It's just literally a storage container, and that's it. And she's still remarkably positive, even though Jerry's dead. Like, her whole reason for being there is now gone, really. Yeah. And as far as I know, she's still around. But I seem to, again, guys, forgive me if I find the link subsequently. I'll post it in the at least in the comments section, or I'll put it up in the write-up, the synopsis or whatever. But I found after reading the book and stuff, it was a complete head turner. Like I went, holy fuck! Like, it's not just as cut and dried as I thought originally.
Right. It's kind of good that we did this in two parts, because the second half we didn't see this coming either.
Yeah, because I stumbled across that book, and it has only been out since 6 months now, I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So the timing was just right.
If Rick Sapphire is out there, I might just try to tap him for an interview about this, because if he's still out there and if this isn't a posthumous release, maybe he'd be willing to talk a little bit more about Jerry and some of the psychology stuff. Because I might just do that, actually. I might just reach out to him. Tell me what you guys think.
I'd like to find out if she is still alive, and if she's doing any better than what we saw in this clip.
Mm-hmm. Well, anyway, guys, I hope you appreciated it. I hope you got something out of it. And Wayne, thank you so much for helping me with this one. It's good to have a nice two-parter. So we have the room to like that, stretch this out and make sure we had the chance to actually do that, because this would have been one of those things if we did one and done. And I found this book. I'm like, fuck, we got to add this somehow, and you can't do it now. You know what I mean?
Right. So it's kind of a good thing that the first one didn't record on Skype.
In a weird way, yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Anyway, I think you had you got the
dedication.
You got the dedication for the first one. So I think what was the song you picked?
I just threw out David Johansen, and you.
Oh, Dave Johansen. I chose Frenchette.
Which is fine.
Which is still. I just thought I'd go a little more. Because there's also one that Sylvain did versions of that as well. I think I'm going to pick The Replacements, Unsatisfied, for this one.
Okay, good. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's Sylvain also wrote Melody and Swahito Woman that are on the other solo album. So they worked together on his solo stuff, which was good too.
Yep, absolutely. If you guys want to hear, I'm sorry.
Oh, sorry. The episode wasn't a barrel of laughs, but it's kind of a dark topic. But there's still, we got some laughs in there. I thought I wasn't expecting her to do the "Hey lady" thing, because I commented on that in the first episode, and then she went and did it.
Incredible. The one thing I found fascinating also was the idea that, when he died, before he died, that interview came out. You remember that infamous one that this dude interviewed him, and he was really short and clipped, and everybody was saying what an asshole Jerry is. Like, he's an asshole, but like I remember defending him at the time, thinking, well, you're 91, you're being interviewed by someone who doesn't know anything about you, and you got so little time left. Wouldn't you be a little bit of obnoxious?
And the guy, he really he didn't know what he was doing.
Right. And Jerry never, like, if you want to interview him, and there's loads of interviews out there, if you kiss his ass just a little bit because he's a narcissist, he'll spread his legs right open.
Well, it's no different than a Johnny Lydon interview. If they ask you go and ask Johnny Lydon stupid questions, he's going to say, okay, end of interview, you know?
Yep. But if you know what you're talking about and he knows you know what you're talking about, he'll sit around.
And I think I could do a Johnny Lydon one because I know what I could hit on that he'd be interested in. Not talking about the Sex Pistols or any of that stuff.
Nope, there's shitloads to talk about.
Yeah. Just the reggae stuff alone.
Thank you so much, brother. And everybody out there, take care. We love you, and we'll see you on the next one.
Thanks.
Hey, you know what? That picture of Diana DeGarmo and you was good. You can't see the rifle someone has on her.
Yeah, whatever.
They're out of the frame, huh?
Good framing.
All right, Eric. We'll let the record note that you, in fact, are not stalking Diana DeGarmo. We got it.